what I'm supposed to do. I've been told my entire life, okay, you go into first grade, you go into second grade, and then with this idea that once you might finish school, you get a career, you work hard, you save your money, and then you enjoy your time to retire and then get to have fun.
Boo.
That sounds like that to me is a system which has been perpetuated, but I think there's opportunity to make it significantly better.
Welcome to the CultureStoke Podcast, where happier people lead to better results.
All right. Well, hey, this is the inaugural once in a lifetime and forever CultureStoke Podcast.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers. It is official. So I am Richard. I'm joined here by my friends and the founders of CultureStoke. Why don't you introduce yourself? He's on my left. You're right. What's your name, bro? Who are you? Who's this guy?
My name is Marty Imes.
What's your middle name?
Robert.
Roberto.
That's Martin Roberto.
Martin Roberto. I like it.
Come fly.
All right. And on my right, your left, we got the infamous
Wes Love. And can I just say I'm a little upset at the production value here. I had to do my own hair and makeup today.
I know.
I was pretty bummed
sorry.
out about it.
I don't know what to
and
tell you.
the producers in the back, the snack table.
the little mini.
The mini snack table.
What are those little burritos?
I asked for no brown M&Ms, and here we are.
Is there a brown M&M? What a pitiful M&M. Wes, but that's not your real name. No. I mean, it is.
Well, that's
you gotta.
Yeah, that's what I go by. But my government name is James Wesley Love. Yes,
James Wesley.
J-Dub. I like that.
James Wesley Love.
For a long time, I really tried. I tried to land being called J-Lo. And I was like, I was going to be J-Lo before J-Lo.
When did you win?
Well, it was definitely after she came out with that moniker, and I was trying to just take credit for. I was co-writing.
That's
that
okay.
Point.
I mean, who doesn't want to go with that?
Bringing it out quick.
No. So we're here. We're starting the podcast, and this is kind of. I mean, decades really in the making. You guys have known each other since you were, little niños.
Yeah,
and I met Marty 6 years ago, and I met you 5 years ago. And so there's just kind of all these stories going around. And so before we get crazy into the stoking and the culture and all that stuff, let's just give quick origin stories. I'm going to start. We're just going to go counterclockwise and then feel it out. So Wes, just quick backstory. Who are you? What's your kind of, credentials, for lack of better words, and why are you here?
Well, I'm here because it was on my calendar to be here.
That's a good thing.
It's
called adulting.
I'm adulting. It is hard.
Yes.
Yeah. My origin story is, I grew up with the kind of traditional sense that work was a necessary evil, and kind of through the birth of my children and wanting more for them and then wanting more for humanity, I realized like we could do better.
Yeah.
In our workplace and therefore our world. And so
we can.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, and it is not easy, but it is simple. And I'm hoping that through this podcast and through other things that will be coming, we can make a drastic change.
Lots of things coming.
Shameless plug.
Shameless. I love it. Just real quick, brief. Just your, if you have any, I know you have some legitimate, on the wall type of credentials, papers.
Yeah. I went. I took a little bit of a non-traditional route. I got married very young. Hello, Michelle. I love you. And then had kids very young. Hello, Elliot and Andy. And then I went and got a career, and then I went to school, which was cool. But through that education, I was able to, I went from no college to a master's degree while working full time and raising a family full time, although a lot of credit goes to the aforementioned Mrs. Love.
There you go.
And, really, I think that there's a lot of benefit of kind of growing up in the schools of hard knocks, but then also getting a little bit of the conceptual knowledge and a lot of bit of the psychology of the human condition to help inform that.
Nice. Yeah. I like it. So he's smart and he has a couple of degrees.
I have a couple of degrees.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So Wes, that is the story of Wes. And so Marty, give us just, again, quick origin story, credentials, why culture, and, I don't know, something else arbitrary.
Absolutely. Cool, man. So when I grew up here in Central Coast, California, met Wes back in high school. Shout out to Rio Grande High Eagles, class of 2001.
Not you, son. Not you. Stay in the truck.
You stay there, producer, man.
And always had a good time with Wes, whether it was at school, outside of school, and just
getting it.
Yeah.
Doing life.
Good times. Always a lot of fun.
For sure.
Went to college, and afterwards earned my degree with a concentration in marketing and business administration, and went to work for my family business. It was a business that my mom started back in '92. Hi, Mom. I love you. And had the unique opportunity to, what I thought was just going to start with a marketing project for that company, ended up turning into an 11-year career during that, I worked not only with my mom, but with my dad, my sister, and then my wife. And
such an easy thing to do.
Super
Really
easy.
I mean,
family is
it's not like any boundaries.
family is
crossed
definitely
tonight.
not. Family is definitely not an F word.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
I love my family dearly. And I think the thing that really helped shape my experience, not only at that organization, but to really imagine that people deserve a better experience, not only at work, but just in general. And to Wes's point, I think a lot of people, and myself even included, that at times when I first graduated, I'm like, hey, what I'm supposed to do, I've been told my entire life, okay, you go into first grade, you go into second grade, and then with this idea that once you finish school, you get a career, you work hard, you save your money, and then you enjoy your time to retire and then get to have fun.
Boo.
That sounds like that to me is a system which has been perpetuated, but I think there's opportunity to make it significantly better. I don't think we need to necessarily wait to the end of our kind of prime years to be able to enjoy life to not only a full extent, but in a really magical extent. And so I think not only in business, yes, business exists to be able to make a difference, purpose, make money, whatever it is to solve the problem. But you can do all those things while having fun, while enjoying the people that you're doing with. And if you're able to set those things up simultaneously, then you can have an incredible life, not only within the workplace, but outside. Because it's really hard to have a wonderful life when you're spending the majority of your time doing something that at best
is tolerable
for the majority of individuals.
The necessary evil.
Hence the delineation of like work life. Like, I have a work that is separate from my life.
Yeah, and that's a myth.
Which is kind of a fallacy in itself.
Just life.
Work is part of your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make it meaningful.
By the way, a significant part of your life. Like, we spend a third of our life at work. And by the way, conservative numbers, like those are that's assuming an 8-hour work day.
What about
and
American
a 40-hour work week.
Culture?
And if you want to get real silly with it, like a third of our life is also spent sleeping. So I got into people stuff because math is not my strong suit. But if you take away the non-conscious part of our life, we spend half of our life at work. 70 to 90,000 hours of our life at work.
Right. So needless to say, it should not suck.
It should be more than just a paycheck.
Should be an additive component of an opportunity.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I like it sucks that we have to work. It'd be great if we could just chase our passions. But that doesn't mean that our work has to suck. And it really does. Like, what is the thing that makes our work suck? And Marty was talking about this a couple of days ago about, it's very rarely like the job itself that makes work suck.
Right.
And most of the headaches that not only individuals or leaders deal with tend to be people related, not so much.
Saying that, I mean, you're kind of giving a really practical example, because I was like, what do you mean by that? And you're like, well, it's the content. It's like you're not going home and complaining to your wife about like, my stapler is not working. It's like, no, Johnny from HR is like, or maybe an HR.
Why is it always got to be HR, man?
I don't
As a person who has an HR background.
It's just what conjured up to the top of my head.
Hey, how dare you?
Sally from marketing is mad because.
Well, now you're dunking on marketing people. What?
No. I started in marketing, but I lived my career in HR, and it can be. And traditionally, it can be one of the loneliest positions in the organization.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think just sweep back around because I'm here. I'm going to be talking a lot. I'll give just my brief origin backstory. Yeah. So
wait, who is this guy, by the way, Marty? Like, we don't.
I met him one time.
I think I bumped into him at the grocery store.
I don't know. I just convinced them to let me be their overlords one day.
we were walking around downtown, and we were like, we need a host. You got a voice.
You can talk. You're a person with consciousness. No, so Marty and I met 6 years ago at church, of all places. And that was just kind of a cool... We just had some great conversations together, and realized that... so from my background is mostly, or almost exclusively, more on the practitioner side of things. So I've only ever been in, nonprofit world. Local churches and also helping nonprofits, consequently helping other startups with their messaging, branding, marketing, stuff like that. But I just learned to love culture because at the end of the day, I love people. And I know, and it's not like I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we just...
I'll do it for you.
Thank you, sir.
I got you.
Feels good. Finally. That's why culture's important. No, so we, and I keep saying me and my wife, we kind of were always in ministry together, nonprofit world. And it was always creative worship, that type of stuff. But we just felt like there was always a disparity of the people who, were excited about what was going on and the people who weren't. Often it came down to like very simple things. And we just happenstance to cross these things over years of doing it really bad at times, and then learning and growing, and then meeting guys like Marty, who's like, all of his great idioms and ways to make 30,000 foot ideas really practical. And then Wes and I met 2020 briefly.
It was a fun time.
It was, yes, 2020 vision.
Hey.
And so anyway, we just kind of synced up recently, and so anyway, these are the co-founders. I'm the chief growth officer here, whatever that means. And we're
here at where?
Good Vibes Co.
Good Vibes Co. I feel like we missed an opportunity now.
Good Vibes CultureStoke. CultureStoke. So with all those introductions, let's just get into the quick lightning-ish rounds. We'll say lightning round, but seldom is it going to be lightning.
It's
more like
slowest lightning.
It's like lightning that struck 20 miles away, and you hear the thunder, 20 seconds later.
Okay,
so.
I dig it.
Reasonable. Okay, so let's just get into the quick. Shameless plug, golden circle of CultureStoke, like the why, the what, the how, right? That's the order. Why, what, how, or why, how, what? Dang it.
Sorry, Simon. As a Simon Sinek.
I'm sorry, Simon.
Absolute fanboy. I'm gonna be real staunch about getting it right.
That's all that matters. So why, how, what? Let's just hit CultureStoke's why. Let's. You guys are the co-founders. Let's hit the why of CultureStoke. And I know we already touched on some, but let's get down to the needies.
I would say if you're to distill it down into its most simple element, I believe that not only we exist to give people a better experience, not only in the workplace, but also to have a better life outside that work.
Yeah. And
more than anything, the desire to not only kind of for ourselves, our friends, our family, the people that matter to us, but for the greater extent of the world, because not only is the workplace experience changing now more so than it ever has in the past.
Right.
It's probably evolving as quickly as it ever has been, but it's now the slowest evolution that's ever going to be. And so
that was so confusing to hear.
Hashtag
say
deep.
It one more time.
Hashtag deep.
And I'm 5.
So the rate of change that is existing in the world has never changed so quickly as it has to this point.
Right.
But it will never be as slow. Technology, demographics.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Even just people's kind of attitudes and with the availability, I would say.
So the velocity in how things change is just
it's picking up.
Yeah.
That snowball is huge.
Okay, but then how does that? Okay, so now you mentioned the slow side of that. What is that?
Yeah. So the slow side is that 20 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, oh, remember how simple and how things were even easier back then than they were today.
I feel like that's what we do now.
Very much so.
I had a boss a long time ago came up to me at a desk and just kind of apropos of nothing, just came up and kind of looked me in the eye and said, hey, Wes, just remember today, these are the good old days. And I was like, and I just kind of gave him one of those,
Excuse me?
Cool. I was right in the middle of a spreadsheet, sir. Look. And he was like, just remember, you're going to look back 20 years from now and you're going to be like, remember when I didn't have to do. And, you know, I think there's lots to that. But to Marty's point, you know, there are things that are out of our control. But I think like the one thing that CultureStoke really tries to do, that Marty and I try to do, and now Richard tries to do, is really highlight while there are things that are out of our control in the workplace, there are things that are out of control in our life. We have a lot more agency and control in the things than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
And so even, you know, I'm gonna break a marketing rule here. It's like, well, if you're not something to somebody, you're nothing to everybody. But really, we are trying to highlight that even if you're not a business owner or a formal leader, you still have some choice and some agency. And so if we can kind of we can build our own snowball, our own momentum of getting people to like insist on organizations paying attention to culture, because it really does define the experience of work.
Right.
Like the work content is what it is, but the experience is, you know, what it's going to be like to do that work.
Dude.
And so that's really when we get to culture, that's kind of the contextual side of the workplace. You know, you think about people that get hired on for a job, like they know what the work is, they know what the compensation is. And, you know, why do people turn around? Like, think about it. Like they knew what they were going to get paid for from a work wise. And then they come in and go, this place sucks.
Yeah.
You're not paying me enough. What is that enough for? Where did that delta come from? What do you think?
I don't know.
Culture. They came in as like, you want me to do all this hard, really meaningful, value added work. Hopefully. And now I got to deal with, you know, people that don't look out for me. I got to deal with people that don't, you know, that are mean. I got to deal with a bunch of bureaucracy. It's the extemporaneous, or not extemporaneous. It's the extracurricular activities at work that's going to really define that experience. You know, and the work is going to be hard enough.
Right.
We have a lot of choice about, are we going to make that harder in how we treat one another?
Well, and I think too, like, I mean, I know you guys could probably conjure up the statistics, but I mean, even the old
1 out of 3
paradigm, half of your life. I know, like, but the time in which someone stays at a job is you know, exponentially smaller than it used to be, because the old
4
paradigm.
years.
4 years, right? And that's even probably, like, I imagine there's some buffer relative to generations.
Yeah,
a lot.
You know what I mean? So we don't have this, like, and I actually don't like it, because I think the connotation is a bummer, but it's like this loyalty, if you will, to dysfunction any longer.
Miss me all the way.
We've decided
with the
at some
loyalty
point.
word. Miss me all the way.
Yeah, but I mean, we've just decided that we will no longer be loyal to dysfunctional culture. Even though we can't articulate that, that's kind of where we're at as you know, this tipping point where there's multiple generations at play in the workforce. So back to CultureStoke, our why. Here's kind of what I'm hearing, right? And I'm what's great about this is that I'm kind of learning with everyone who's an audience member. Like, I'm even kind of absorbing some of this, but at the end of the day, I know you said, hey, if you're everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody. You actually said it in the antithetical way, which was, I've never heard it. It was really hard for my brain to catch. But it's true.
If you're nothing to nobody, then you're nothing to everybody. I don't know.
I've always said if you're nothing, or if you're everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what we're not saying is we work with everybody. Nope. Everybody's a potential client here at CultureStoke.
Absolutely not.
But what we are saying is that the businesses and the leaders and the individuals that we work with organizationally, they have this crazy, beautiful opportunity to make people's life better.
While at the same time, improving results in their organization.
Yup.
We should write that down. That seems like a Wait, so what's our tagline, right? We gotta
better results and happier people.
Boom.
Yeah.
That is why we exist.
Why
we
we
bring
exist.
it down to its deepest level.
Yeah.
Because it's not an either or choice. It's
Yeah.
very much an and both. You can have happier people and achieve better results.
Yeah.
And happier people are,
Right.
the results can be that much more
They follow.
meaningful.
Yeah.
Because really, if you're looking at profitability, revenue, those are the results of doing the right things right. It's the focus activities that are going to be able to not only solve problems for the marketplace or deliver value, whatever you're doing, but ultimately, in order to do that, it requires people.
Yeah.
And any technology that exists today from a competitor can be used in kind of the same business capacity. The same knowledge and information is available out there. God bless the internet, and other ways. But But anyways, so much of a business can be replicated, whether it's from Just leave it from there.
The systems, the tools, the things, but at the end of the day,
so many things.
The unique value proposition of any business is the people that make it.
And it's the only competitive advantage within your control
that you can sustain.
Yeah. Not, you might be able to be the first adapter of this technology, but over the long term,
people. The one thing that your competitor doesn't have is your people.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Like,
and the one thing you don't have that your competitor has is their people.
Yeah. And so the shift in thinking is not, there's often this kind of thought that, culture is this ancillary thing and it's, people just want high fives and pizza parties. And that can definitely be part of your culture if you want.
If you choose.
Yeah, if you choose.
Sure.
But our thing is, to your point, the statistics about the tenure of the average person, gone are the days of I'm going to spend 20, 30, 40 years at a place and I'm going to retire and get the gold watch. Those days are over.
Yeah.
And I think that, we've mentioned 2020 and the pandemic and believe what you want about it. I don't want to get into that part, but what it was a wonderful bringer of perspective.
Yeah.
Right. There was an existential crisis and people went, boy, this could be over like that.
Done. Right. What have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done?
Do I really want to spend so much time, half of my life, at places that I feel at best, in most cases, at best, generally apathetic, where I'm going to do just enough to not get fired?
How bummer.
That is a bummer.
Yeah, it's a major bummer.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is that as anyone literally would hear this, even the leadership feels this way in a lot of ways.
It's everybody.
So it's not just it's not the lowly serfs or the grunts, if of work, not to be pejorative, to anyone who works in a business, but floor to ceiling.
Yeah. And sometimes even more challenging for leaders because they have climbed the ladder to get to a certain point. They've reached a certain position in their organization and then realized through reflection or other circumstances, holy crap, I climbed this ladder, but it was on the wrong wall. Literally. The last 20, 30 years of going this type of route based upon what I was told, conditioned to do, what I heard from guidance counselors, what I had other expectations from others. But was I even true to myself to begin with?
Yeah.
And then so that creates its own unique set of tension that if somebody, particularly within a leadership level, is having those types of concerns, thoughts, doubts, or what have you, that is magnified that much further within an organization.
Jeez.
And so the idea, I think, more than anything, is to really get clear about what the heck it is that you want. Rather, not only for your business, where do you want to be, what do you want it to look, act, and feel like in the future, but also think about what do you want your life to look like? Because really, business is that avenue to be able to help other people, including yourself, achieve their dreams, goals, and aspirations. Really, business can be work. It can be.
Not that it currently exists. A lot of it is, hence why CultureStoke exists in a lot of ways, is, hey, we hope to help people understand, hey, this has the potential to create a life ripple and all of your people.
No, I think leaders and organizations grossly underestimate the power and influence they have on how people will answer the questions when they go to their 20-year class reunion, or
Right.
when they're telling their stories to their grandkids about
Right.
like, well, tell me about what it was like, what's your job like,
Yeah.
or tell me what's your boss like.
Yeah.
Like, they don't realize how much influence they have on how that conversation is going to go. And they don't even think about it because we're so results oriented. We're so, I got to get this bottom line. I don't know. Like, if you have a person in a leadership position that says, I don't care what my people think about me, big red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't care.
You're like,
You don't care at all, like, what your people think. Like, no, I'm just here to deliver results. I got a business to run. It's like, wow, because you have the opportunity, and this is where I'm going to get like my doughy-eyed humanistic face on.
doughy.
You have the doughy,
Bring the
doughy,
dough. I don't know.
doughy.
Doughy.
I don't know. Like, is it dough? Like dough, as in like a.
I think of like innocent Bambi dude.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Go with your-
doughy-eyed,
go with
or
your
am I
gut.
dewy-eyed?
Go with
I'm
your
gonna
gut.
go with a doughy, dewy-eyed, optimistic. a doughy-eyed. But like, you can, if you really, really wanted to, you could build an organization that is profitable, that is successful. It has been shown demonstratively that great cultures are good.
They outperform.
Their
They outperform. They
performance,
perform well.
Right. So this is
But,
not
like,
anecdotal.
No,
we're not just
you
like
can go a simple Google search will show you that places with great cultures,
Right.
they adapt better. They can deal with differences like inflation or recessions. They come back quicker to things like
resilience.
this.
Yeah.
But like, and all that stuff is great. And I'm not trying to. I am not capitalistic. I'm not a non-conscious profit person. Like, I understand that profit's important, but you have the opportunity also to make your people's lives better because they work for you.
Yeah.
Like, you can make them better spouses, better parents, better neighbors. Better neighbors make better community members.
Right.
Better communities make a better world. Like, you literally have the opportunity
Right.
to
you kinda
make
see
the world
you
a
see
better
the
place. That's that ripple
implications.
effect that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But like, if you make a
One
place
thing
where your
begets the
people are
next begets the-
miserable,
Yeah.
the opposite is also
Right.
true.
Yeah. What is famous Gandhi quote, like, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, really, I think all of us have experienced what it feels like when we are in a position of influence, and then when we watch, and that's the thing, this is anecdotal, right? So we can point to the stats and say, look, but we know our own experience is substantiated by all of this data. And it's like the amount of gratifications, I will take less pay, work more hours to see that level of ripple in people's lives than any, huge corporate job could offer if it's horrible culture and great pay.
But you can have great cultures. Both. Yes.
What is it,
Absolutely.
both?
Because
you never say both and. You guys say a different thing. You say
Yes,
both.
both.
Yes,
Yes,
both. I love that. I
Yeah.
was doing that.
and the idea that not only is it possible, but it's to be expected.
Yeah.
When you have a great culture, organizations with great cultures actually outperform their own industry peers at an average of 3.6x, according to a recent study by a management consulting company, Great Place to Work.
Yep.
3.6
So you should
times.
listen to us.
Yes. Not only for better financial results, but then also to the degree where your people have the opportunity to see work not only as what they get, but who you can become in that process.
Yeah.
There's that, yes, compensation, benefits, those are important. Absolutely. But to the degree where you're saying like, hey, people are willing to give more of themselves, more discretionary effort to see these things come to life, that is where success is personal. And that, I think, more than anything, beyond kind of tying in the compensation, but if you can their purpose with the opportunity to have some creativity or autonomy within your role, to be able to, hey, I see something where we might be able to do things differently or better, and be able to exercise that. That again creates progress, connectedness within one's role, and that is where you can start to actually derive joy from the work. And so, yes, it would be rad if we all had unlimited funds and didn't necessarily have to kind of go through the quote quote the act of work, but I think work in and of itself can actually help us define and understand like what are our gifts?
Yeah.
What are the things that we can do to positively impact the lives of those around us and leave the world in a better place if we choose.
And I would say not can, like we can do that. I think we should do that.
Should.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get on like a moral imperative, but if you're going to ask people to spend half of their life making you money,
right?
Like the paycheck should be the floor, not the ceiling.
Yeah.
And organizations that spend a lot of time like harping on like, if they think the paycheck is the only lever that they have to pull to get people, to attract, retain talent, like somebody will always prices right you. I mean, in the opposite direction, they're like, well, I will pay you a penny more if you come over here. Like,
come forth.
If you come this way, I'll pay you $1.50 more or whatever. Like I'm always fascinated by the exit interview question of like, well, why did you, why are you leaving? That's like what they tell, like, oh. And it's always going to be kind of this, well, they offered me more money. It's always going to be what did the other organization offer you? They're going to look at it that way. Like, I love to ask people, why did you decide to start looking? Why did you decide to start looking?
What was the impetus of the?
Why did you dust off that resume and start looking around? And if they say, well, I needed more money, it's like a good time to look inwardly and actually genuinely ask the question, am I paying my people enough?
Right.
Because that is a real thing.
Right. But
more often than not, what they'll tell you is it'll be something along the lines of like, well, I just didn't fit in with the team. Okay. Right. Or I didn't see room and opportunity for me to develop. There was
probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, that is a huge one. We're going to do an episode on it. But, if you really want to know what's going on in your business, asking people why they decided to start looking in the first place will give you a lot more information than why did you decide
if you even want to hear that, which comes down to the desire to change culture. So I think with that, that kind of defines in a broad sense. We obviously have a lot of passion around why this is important to us. Oh, what? Well, I guess
it's almost in the name.
Oh. Good vibes. No, CultureStoke. CultureStoke. Okay, so the why, we clearly obviously all have a very strong why around this. And I think at the end of the day, we do genuinely just want to see a better world. And I think that, and here's the thing, nobody doesn't want that. Maybe there's the outliers.
There might be a joker somewhere.
So yes, there is. But on the whole, everybody wants a better world. And I think we can all agree, anecdotally and statistically, if businesses invest thoughtfully, intentionally, deliberately into culture, building that, the world will be better. There's just no doubt about it.
Their world and their balance sheets. Not only can they save significant time and money when it comes to hiring costs, lower absenteeism, reduce turnover, increase productivity,
which makes their world better. Everyone's world
decreased headaches, decreased time crunch. Hashtag yes, both.
Yeah. So there's yes, both. There's philosophical and practical reasons why no matter what, this is important. So let's get into the how, right? That's the next rung. Okay. Yeah. How?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Why, how, what?
Why, how, what? So the how, and again, let's treat this as a little shorter lightning round. How, because again, we're just getting the practical of like, okay, right now, how are we doing this for, people, leaders, businesses, and then maybe we can touch a little bit on even what's going on here, what we hope to do and where we hope to grow as a business moving forward even. So where we're at now, and then where we hope to go.
Yeah.
Whomever chooses to go first.
So I think more than anything, very much how we help organizations at this point is to really give them a clear understanding of what culture is, how it shows up, how it manifests in any organization, regardless of size, industry, age, etc.
Yeah.
Because every business that exists has its own unique culture.
Yeah.
And the thing about culture that's a little challenging is that it is a bit of a nebulous concept, but it's also relatively invisible. It's not something you can see it, but more oftentimes than not, people don't know how or where to
it's
look
kind of this
for it.
ethereal thing. It's like we all know it's there, but it's like, what is this?
Yes.
What is this
Absolutely.
culture thing? Wes, he's manically writing over here. I love it.
So we are big believers that how we start is to give people a very clear, simple, actionable definition of what culture is, how it manifests, so that they do have an understanding of like, hey, how can I not only shape or improve this,
Right.
but what are the things that I can do to move the needle?
Right.
Whether I'm an individual contributor, whether I'm a manager, whether I'm a leader in the C-suite, anyone who might have have an understanding of culture can now find some very simple, high engagement, low cost ways to impact it in a positive way. And so our goal in providing kind of this way of changing the way people think or look at culture is to give people the opportunity to change the way they think about their own businesses or their own experience at work.
Yeah.
And so the how, we just generally start there to then guide organizations through direct culture change, whether it's working kind of in tandem with us to kind of not only get clear of what you want your culture to look at and feel like, how it shows up, things that you can put into place to allow your people the opportunity to embrace kind of the newness that you really want to be able to bring into your organization. Yeah. And it takes it. The thing that's challenging is that it's really around changing behavior.
Right.
And a lot of this is rooted in psychology. So
I love it. We have a thing here. This is called the whiteboard buzzer. We have whiteboards. These guys are notorious for whiteboards. So Wes is going to give just the practical, super practical, lay it on.
I don't know where is this? Where
right here. This one.
Just straight across. Okay,
this one right here. Yeah, this is the best one. So see your arm there. You're gonna.
Hey, our production assistant's pointing to the camera. I don't need you to do that. So. So I think one of the interesting parts about culture is that it is this very nebulous concept for folks, and because it is really complex. Right. Like there's the history and the stories and your artifacts and all the things. Like if you go look at the definitions, so that in and of itself becomes a pretty high bar to entry for people that are even like moderately interested in this. Yeah. And so in my career, I kind of, this model came about, as most things do, in a moment of crisis. I was asked to come help a team that was not stoked to work together. There was a lot of infighting, and what was crazy is these were amazing individuals. Okay, like you talk to them and they were very cool, very awesome people that got together and just wanted to fight. So I had this manager, and back then I was a much younger man.
Doughy-eyed man.
I was a doughy-eyed man.
No,
still.
a doughy.
But conflict was very tough for me, like for lots of reasons. I did not like to be around it. I'm very emotionally empathetic to people, and so I pick up on things like that. And so it is very tough for me to hold, or it used to be very tough for me to hold emotional containers.
That space,
so I was not super pumped about the idea of having to go in and do this, even though it was my job.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, how can I get us to a place where we can talk about the culture without having to do a bunch of back work with how we got there? We need to do that. We need to kind of, if there's been injuries, if there's been trauma, we need to address those things. But like, what if we took it from the bent that we would be more forward looking about how we want to do this? Because if you think about your why is your purpose, and in Simon Sinek, you talk about your why is your purpose, your how's really your culture. Yeah. And so I came up with these kind of 4 questions or 4 prompts for them to work through. And then as I looked at it, I put it up on the whiteboard. I was like,
this is really smart.
This is like a really those were not my thoughts, but sure, we can go with it. But like I looked at it and said, this is a very, very at least functional first step for teams to get more intentional about their culture. And so like this idea of like how we treat each other, right? If you think about it from a tribal perspective, if your organization is a tribe, you've got how we treat each other. Like what are the interactions? And Marty said the big B word, behaviors. Yeah. Which culture determines the acceptable and unacceptable behaviors in the workplace. Right. So like, how do we treat each other? What are the behaviors, the observable acts I can see and hear in our interactions every day?
Right.
Then you have how we treat those externally. So if you think about like your tribe, these are the people outside. So competitors,
clients, vendors,
suppliers, yeah, like other community members. Marty likes to say, if you're wearing a uniform and you're out in the grocery store, like you're still repping the brand. How do you want to treat people? How do you want to treat people outside? Then there's this how we view and solve problems. Okay. And so view and solve problems is like a kind of a two-parter, like how you view them.
Right.
Are they like a bad thing, or are they learning opportunities or whatever? And then how do we solve them? Do we come together, etc.? So like those are all choices that we can make.
Right.
And then the last one is how we communicate, which we'll probably do like 3 episodes on how we communicate, because that is deep.
I mean, we could hit, all of these have so much
for sure
girth.
So, I mean, if nothing else, this at least gives us common language so that when teams are having discussions and we can go, if Richard, if you and I are on a team and, and you're new to the organization and we're walking into a meeting, I'll be like, okay, hey, just so you know, every morning we greet each other. We share something that happened to us over the weekend, or we share something cool. And, by the way, we definitely want to make sure that, we wait for others to finish their thoughts before we start our own. It's really big culture. That's a way we show respect here in the organization or whatever. Yeah. We can start having conversations.
But you've clearly now articulated a behavior, and in doing so, even an expectation. Yeah. So now it's that expectation gap is like so frustrating for a lot of
bananas.
People.
So with that model, one of the greatest opportunities that organizations have is to actually think of some of these things through, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It could be a very
that's what's so beautiful about this. Yeah.
Yes. It's a very quick exercise, even as a leader. And I would suggest leaders, or even anyone, actually, regardless of position in the organization, can really get clear about what is the type of culture that either you want to be a part of, or what's the type of culture you want to build.
Right.
And the idea here is to think about, again, how you want to treat people, how you want to treat others outside of the team, view and solve problems, and communicate. But then once you think about that, use that to set expectations, because the expectations of not only how you behave, how you show up, how you do things can be really beneficial from a leadership standpoint, because really, as a leader, your actions really magnify the type of culture that you want to see, because your role is to really model those ideal behaviors and kind of trim out the undesired ones. But more than anything, to create an expectation around your culture. Yeah. Because any expectation left unsaid or uncommunicated becomes a seed or a root of resentment.
Right. Yeah.
And that is
Say it again.
Any expectation non-communicated or not communicated can become the seed or root.
No, you got it.
Any expectation not communicated can become the seed or root. Any expectation not communicated can become seed or root of resentment.
Yep.
And that in a culture, a business doesn't exist to have a culture.
Right.
Let alone a great culture or a poor culture.
Right.
A business exists to serve their purpose and achieve their mission. It just so happens that your culture, the things that influence your behaviors, are either going to help or hurt your ability to achieve said mission.
Yeah, hoped for mission results, outcomes, whatever. Yeah. Well, and then hence the exit interview question, like, okay, well, hold on. You probably should have started with, when did you?
Yeah, you made a choice.
You started to consider that.
You looked at your current state and said,
like, nah, thanks. No.
Yeah, and it's usually not for unless you are generally underpaying your people, it's usually not the paycheck, because they knew what they were signing up for.
Yeah,
it's the added things of what we're dealing with. But to kind of build on Marty's point about like leadership setting this, here's a bit of the tricky part in the cautionary tale, and probably the hardest work is they have to know, what do you want.
Right, you have to articulate that
because
clearly.
You can't. Yeah, you have to know, and it's got to mean something beyond up here. It's got to mean something here, because accountability doesn't happen because you intellectually think something's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got it to hold people accountable means it's got to hit in the heart area too. Like I've got to actually care about this thing, and so
and you just for context, you in this instance is the owners, the leaders,
the leader,
whoever is helping kind of like forge.
If you're setting the rules,
if
you're setting the rules, and you're saying these are the things that I want, this is how I want people to show up.
Yeah.
If you're not willing or able to hold people accountable for those things, that also can breed resentment. Okay. Right. Or it just undermines your culture completely because you're like, well, I'm really big on, like you can think of like every company has a cell phone policy, right? Like, my daughter worked at Aeropostale and PacSun and, is doing wonderful things that way. But they have cell phone policies. But then you walk into the store and like literally everybody's just like this, right? On their phone because no one cares about it.
Right.
And so you have this it's like
disparity.
Yeah. And then it's like,
almost,
like intellectually, you're not going to be, but like, do I care enough to go and have to tell this person, like, get off your phone? Cause like now there's potential for conflict. Right. So like, I like to tell people like, if there's fluff, get the fluff out of here. Like get the fluff out of here. Because like, if you don't care about it, just get it out. Like if it honestly does not matter to you,
right?
Just get it out there because I would venture to say that you can't hold somebody truly accountable if you don't really care about it.
If you don't care about it, yeah.
If you don't care about it.
Because there's no reason to.
Yeah. No. You're just going to literally go, whatever. It doesn't matter.
You don't want to create some arbitrary rules just because that's what other people do. It's like, hey, make it meaningful to your business and your expression and your people.
There's got to be some why behind it. Why does that matter to you?
The irony too, and I imagine you guys could probably speak to this, but I mean, even in my experience is that's going to like those things that are in your heart as a leader, as someone who owns it, they're probably already things that you expect of your people on some level.
And probably have
even some frustration with people in your organization because like, well, I really like when people are 5 minutes early is actually on time for me.
Yeah.
But if you've never actually stated that, then there's no precedence for you to be mad at them.
Nope. You literally,
you
actually lose your ability
right
to hold the accountability when you don't communicate it. Like you have given up your right to be pissed about it.
Well, dude. Yeah. And I think what's interesting about that too is that, you guys are, working with a lot of businesses. I mean, how many, collectively at this point has CultureStoke worked with, maybe go business and then maybe try, and again, broad numbers, don't overthink it, but 80 plus organizations and how many individuals?
Yeah.
How many individuals do you think? Like a couple, 200, 300, 400 people?
Easy.
Yeah. If we're to look, are you talking about individual leaders or people in the organization?
I'd say the broad, like, hey, how many people have you worked with? Like just leaders and or organizational people.
I don't even.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. I wouldn't even.
Right.
But I think that, we are going to, in this podcast, we are going to talk a lot about leaders because they have the formal authority to do things. But just for those that are, individual contributors or feel like you don't have power in agency in this, the power that you do have is that you can start like all these things that we're going to talk about in the episodes to come are things that your leaders should be doing, but that you have the ability to insist that they do it. And then use that as the mechanism to say like, well, if you're not going to invest in this, I'm going to go find a place that does.
Well, because literally everyone's already doing that. They're just not saying that.
Yep.
So at least we can even almost as, the underlings, if you will, now we have some like education to say, hey, actually, I think this would be crazy valuable. And this would not just help me want to stay, but help everyone else.
Yeah. And well, I mean, organizations are really going to have it's all because here's the thing. As we move, as the snowball continues to move, as time moves inexorably forward, like the generations that are coming in, this is becoming a bit of a non-negotiable. And so companies that try to organizations that try to hold on to the it's literally happening.
You go to Gen Z, it's like they won't even sniff at your door if you don't have this like lined out.
They Gen Z
it a little bit,
millennials because they were in that kind of bridge of like they saw what happened to the traditionalists and baby boomers and Gen Xers, and they were like, well, that looks like that kind of sucks a little bit. And so they're like, but maybe this is just this is how things are, but not really. Like they're still gonna be like, yeah, but I think we can do better. Gen Z is like, nah, fam, we're not gonna do this.
Like colloquialism.
Well, I mean, because it really is like,
true.
and if you look at organizations that are kicking against the goads, trying to fight against this and saying, well, no, that they just need to learn. They don't want to work hard, or they don't want to, like, you're going to find very quickly, there's lots of case studies about organizations that refuse to understand the current trend and change of the times. See Motorola, see Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Et cetera.
Et cetera, et cetera.
If there's more change happening outside your business than in your business, you'll be out of the business.
Yeah.
And the expectations of not only generations, but even just workers in general have shifted, and they shifted permanently.
Right.
The opportunity, if you're looking at the U.S. like the economic landscape, the majority of businesses are service-based.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to require people to deliver those services.
Right.
And so again, why people are your number one competitive advantage. But to the degree, the speed of technology, just as mentioned before, but it's just as easy now to go online while you're sitting at your desk and look for another job while you're currently
I can apply for a job right now.
With a click of a
my
button.
phone.
Let me just pull something up. Boom. Or
I won't.
If you're curious about, hey, what might I be worth in terms to another organization? Right. Well, I'm currently being compensated. I am going to look elsewhere. There's reviews. It's again.
Yeah. Well, and even with the impetus of like remote work too, like the amount of availability.
Yeah.
And so it's like
what the interesting part about that is like I've heard lots of people go, oh, this place has changed. And it's like, yeah, for the better. Yeah. Like it actually should have been this way before. Right. Like we should not have had. Like, I'm not going to show my salary range. Like, I'm going to, like, this was a system that is relatively new, by the way. The way that this kind of work system, like back in the early 50s and even the 60s, it was not necessary. Like, there was a lot more impetus on taking care of your people. And then in like the 70s is when it really started. We started to use people as kind of as like another lever, another resource, not an asset. Okay, we're going to look at, we have time, money, people, and resources, and we're going to allocate those accordingly. When really it's like, no, your time, your money, and your resources should go into your people, because your people are going to do the fantastic. And so like that's that shift in thinking.
That's such a significant paradigm shift, which again, we're talking 5 generations in the workplace. And so you have this huge, I keep saying ripple effect, but it's true. We have this kind of trickle down of, and so for us even, we're all kind of firmly in the millennial generation.
Elder millennial.
But at the end of the day, I think there's even that cognitive dissonance that is really hard. And so, and again, when you have so many generations that have different paradigms and understandings of what is working and what is not, that's why there's such this beautiful opportunity to create some clarity, make it simple, and make better people, happier people, better results, right? So with that, let's just real quickly, we're gonna wrap up the what of CultureStoke, and just kind of the what it is now and what we hope it to be, in the near-ish future, and the next couple of months, what's coming up. All right, so the what of CultureStoke. What is CultureStoke? What is it doing now?
Yeah, CultureStoke, our main goal and intention is really to be able to provide leaders, individual contributors, people within organizations, the tools, knowledge, skills, and resources to be able to build great cultures, not only for, again, better results, but for happier people. Yeah. And so we've been really blessed to be able to do this type of work over the last 7-8 years, and have worked with various leaders in different types of businesses, types of sizes, and found this applies. And so now our goal and effort is to be able to give these resources a little more broadly to individuals and businesses, so that they can make the impact on their.
So practically, when you say resources, I mean, obviously there's documentation that we provide, but like on a practical level, what are the practical things that is happening day to day with these businesses that we're offering them to disseminate those resources and to give them and teach them and coach them?
Yeah, excellent. So presently we have workshops. We do individual coaching with leaders and executives, and then we also do partner consulting when we come alongside organizations, traditionally with founders or their senior leadership teams, in order to co-create cultures with them directly.
Right. Yeah. Anything to add?
I mean, I think we have we've launched a podcast. I think.
Is that what
we're doing? And so with
talking.
that, with that, I think we're going to do kind of mini courses and adding some more kind of digital content to our library to make this more accessible, a little bit more on demand, I believe is one of the goals. But really, we want to, I believe that we can spark change. Like, this is the way that we want to change the world, is by giving people, from individual contributor to founder, the idea, the concepts, the tools, and the desire to make this shift, because I think this is really how we can make this world a better place, for the generations to come. And it's really hard work. Like, I don't want to make that, I don't want to put like, oh, it's just bippity boppity boo and your culture's better. But it is hard work. Culture is very big boat, very tiny rudder.
Small rudder.
Takes time.
Well, because you're talking about, just kind of all these unspoken and spoken things that people, behaviors that are currently there, and then to unlearn all the dissonance that comes with that. I mean, so there's, and obviously,
but so culture is not like, doing culture work is not like diffusing a bomb. Okay, it's more like unraveling a thing of yarn. It's really annoying, and there's lots of, like, if I tug on something over here, it's gonna.
There's a knot here.
But Marty likes something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
If you're doing those, if you're making those steps, and people can see like good intentions in this, they're very forgiving. Yeah. Right. But they become not forgiving when you don't do those things.
Right.
And so I think, but again, culture starts with one of us. It starts with one person saying like, it's got to be better than this. Like, we can do better.
It's got to give.
But it does take all of us. So, people that are all. Yeah, you can be a person that's listening to this podcast right now that says like, man, I am not pumped up to go to work in the morning, and look in the mirror and say like, what is it about my work that isn't, that bums me out so hard? And then go and say like, hey, do you guys feel good about today? Do you this doesn't feel great. Like, can we talk about, like, we have this work we got to get done, but like, this doesn't seem to feel that great. Like, what could we do about this today?
Yeah. Well, and then what's beautiful about even taking that step is, I think you would know immediately if there's reciprocity. Yeah. Then great. Yeah. Cool. If not, well, hey, maybe it's time to start looking.
Throw up the deuces and head out.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. I think
as a person who has done that, I will tell you that everybody is better in that conversation because that decision was made. Yeah. There's nothing worse than staying at a place that you're miserable, because guess what that does?
Makes you and everyone else miserable.
Yeah, literally. It makes your life miserable. Yeah. And then, but in turn, there's a lot of cascading that happens in the brain to where it's like, now there's a lot of energy drain.
Right.
And so, like, I know and there's a lot of privilege in me saying like, we'll just throw up the deuces and find another job, because I understand that circumstances being what they are.
Yeah.
But in general, most people are not trapped in one place. Right. Like, really. Right. There's places that's like, oh, the benefits are so great here, I don't know if I could leave. But like, what is the price of your happiness?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and at some point in time, that teeter-totter, that scale is going to go, this is not worth it.
Right.
And if I try to like tip the scale back, like, and I just live in this world, it's going to have real ramifications.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think just to touch back, even you mentioned, you kind of like scraped over quickly, we've started a podcast. We're going to be creating some really intentional digital resources, a library, if you will. A community is on the lookout. Be on the lookout. There's a lot of incredible. I mean, we're like, this is the kind of like culmination of years of different thoughts into now we're in this room recording content for this incredible thing we call culture. And so we're excited to be a resource for the leaders, for the teams, for the people who are like saying, I'm going to go to the bosses and say, hey, do you feel the same way? And so I think that there's just kind of this holistic feeling that, hey, we get this crazy opportunity to come alongside you guys, you guys, the people watching, the people who are here today, watching, listening, whatever you're doing. And so we're excited. We're excited to kind of expand.
Look, we did work and had fun while we did it. How weird is that?
Oh my gosh.
It is possible.
Yeah. It is possible. And so be on the lookout for that. We have like a crazy plan coming up.
Speaking of being on the lookout, I'm not an expert in this. But this feels weird. What is this?
Well,
why is this empty bowl just chilling here?
I love when you put it up, it like really distorts my face too. Like, so let me tell you what this is about today. No, so this bowl, the CultureStoke bowl, we have not given it a name yet. Maybe, I don't know, Simon or something.
CultureStoke?
CultureStoke. As we start doing more episodes and as we get out more content, we're going to be asking, hey, look, you all have pain points. You all have frustrations. You all have difficulties. We want to fill this thing up with sticky notes. We're big on sticky notes here. They're everywhere. It's actually, it's kind of one of the things that I was not used to. I was like, oh, there's sticky notes everywhere. I love it though. But we're going to fill this thing up with your questions, with your thoughts, with your frustrations, complaints, and we're going to answer them throughout the entirety of these podcasts, and sometimes we may pick one and then just be like 3 episodes.
Yep. And if you submit and put we'll make sure to shout you out. I mean, unless you don't want that for reasons, that's cool too.
Just tell us.
You can leave it anonymous.
You can leave it anonymous.
But put your name, social handles, emails, whatever contact way, we might be able to show you some reciprocity,
some love,
and there might be some later drawings for CultureStoke swag if you contribute. Not saying. Yes. Just saying. Up top.
All right.
Hey. So we love you guys, and hey, what's our tagline again? I'm new here, so you guys got to say it again. So CultureStoke,
better results and happier people.
There we go.
We're happier.
I'm happier.
I feel good.
I'm happier.
Proud of us.
Really good. All right.
Happier people, better results.
Thanks for listening to the CultureStoke Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us wherever you tune in. Share this episode with anybody who could use a culture boost, and visit CultureStoke.com to grab your free culture calculator. Until next time, keep stoking the fire.